Defense lobbyists in the U.S. have spent $750,000 honoring Obama's defense staff in the first 6 months of this year. Big weapons makers like Lockheed Martin and BAE Systems spent over $150,000 each, mostly paying for charity events where the military's top brass were present. RT's Alyona joins us now live from Washington with more on this. Hello there, Alyona. Over to you.
Hi, Yulia. Thank you. Well, I also want to focus on foreign policy. It's fair to say that the U.S. shapes quite a bit of the foreign policy around the world, and that many of those decisions are made right here in Washington, D.C., where the powerful like to gather and decide how they're going to spend all that money that seems to be at their fingertips. And integrity is definitely a question that comes to mind. How do they decide which country gets more aid than another, or whose human rights violations are forgivable while others are strongly denounced? Well, now there's a foreign policy influence tracker that's been made by the Sunlight Foundation and ProPublica here in the U.S. It's online for everybody to see, and it can help answer some of those questions of how influential lobbyists really are. And I'm joined by Allison from the Sunlight Foundation today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been putting together this tracker, and I first want to get your opinion. What are you seeing? How influential are they really in decisions that the government makes?
It's amazing how much lobbyists really do have an impact on public policy. And one of the things that's really great about these records that we've made digital so that you can search them is you can really follow lobbying campaigns. And you do see, like around human rights and other issues, you'll have hundreds of contacts, or sometimes 700, 800 a month, with members of Congress, with the executive branch, State Department, Defense Department, and you do see policies changing. I mean, I think that the best example of this, the House of Representatives under Nancy Pelosi was going to vote. It's something that the Armenian community here in the United States has lobbied for years as well. So there's obviously lots of different players involved in these things, but they were going to vote for a resolution that would finally call what happened in the Ottoman Empire and then the Republic of Turkey in the early 20th century to the Armenian people. They're going to label it a genocide. This is a very sensitive issue in Turkey. They were very upset about the resolution. They had hundreds of contacts. They met with members of Congress. They enlisted executive branch officials to lobby the House, and they were able to stop the resolution.
I see. Well, I just want to ask you then, isn't there something wrong with that? The fact that these lobbyists are shaping so much of foreign policy in the way people are looking at things such as genocide or other human rights violations?
This is one of the things, and this is what's so good about these records, is that at least we can keep track of it. But yeah, this is, when you think about how U.S. policy is made, the idea that it's being done at the behest of private interests or foreign interests is a little bit troubling. Now, there is in the U.S., you do have the right to lobby Congress. It's part of the First Amendment. But that being said, when you see just the impact that they have, and, bills introduced days after meetings, and it really does have an impact on how the U.S. government works. And
how come there's so much more information out there about foreign lobbying than there are even about the defense spending that goes on in the U.S.?
This is one of the quirks of history. In 1938, the U.S. government was very worried about Nazis influencing, the Nazi Party in Germany influencing Congress. And so they passed this law to track people who represent foreign governments and political parties and companies. And that's why we have, and it's stayed on the books all of these years. There have been these filings all these years. And that's why we get to see these. And what they really wanted to know was, who were these agents of Nazi Germany contacting? What members of Congress? Because there was very concerns about the isolationist movement and other things. And was this being paid for by Nazi Germany? So as a result, we have these records. And now, of course, it tracks every single country. And you can really see what these people are doing, the representatives of these countries. And it's fascinating. It makes for fascinating reading, some of the things that you see that they're doing. Everything from very closely monitoring U.S. elections and telling them what it's going to mean if it's Barack Obama or John McCain, to going to a campaign and meeting with them and saying, hey, you're mentioning my country, and here's the truth about our country, and trying to influence what's being said on the campaign trail.
Well, thank you so much. Very interesting indeed that now people can at least track all those foreign lobbying influences in the U.S. We'll continue to discuss it, and now back to you in Moscow. Thanks, Yulia.
All right, Alyona, thank you very much indeed, and thank you to your guest as well.